How dangerous is the relationship between Russia and Iran? This is a country of Russia and Iran. In the first couple of days of this year, we've seen a newfound relationship and friendship between the two controversial states. Just recently, more than 80 Iranian-made drones were launched by the Russian military into the current Ukrainian conflict in a 48-hour period. Ukraine's leader Zelensky stated that this is a sign of how two of the world's biggest and most outcast nations are deepening their alliance in the face of increasing international isolation and worsening economic woes. Many international relations experts are agreeing that Russia will be considered a failed state in the next 10 years, joining the likes of Syria, Libya, and Yemen, and a few more. So what exact kind of relationship is this one between Russia and Iran? Is it a marriage of convenience? One in which makes sense as two nation-states are often condemned by the geopolitical circle for their actions. One thing's for sure is that Russia has not many friends. Even recently, China distanced themselves from Russia, although not completely decoupling from the state. The war in Ukraine is pushing Moscow into welcoming friendly relations with Iran as one of its top foreign partners in a bid to secure needed military supplies from Tehran to assist in its military advances. The war in Ukraine changed how Russia viewed its ties with Iran, said Emil Abdialani, Director of Middle East Studies at GeoCase, a Georgian think tank. Before 2022, bilateral relations were characterized by ambivalence, high talks but little substance. With the war, however, Russia's turn to Asia has become complete and Iran's support is now seen as critical in the Kremlin. The consequences could result in a longer and more deadlier war in Ukraine. At the same time, it could endanger US allies in the Middle East that oppose Iran. If the Russian government delivers new forms of military technology and high-end weapons systems to the heavily sanctioned Middle Eastern power, Russia can improve Iranian military hardware capabilities significantly, mainly through provisions of air defense systems, which would honor a long-time Iranian request. Russia has rejected past such inquiries, fearing the relationship problems that agreeing would create with other countries, including Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, and Turkey. However, with Russia now being more desperate for friends in the international community, these past concerns are merely of the past. Israel has stayed mostly on the sidelines since Russia's invasion of Ukraine last February, so as not to damage its strategic relationship with the Kremlin. Although Israel has sent humanitarian aid to Ukraine, it has refused Kiev's frequent requests to send air defense systems and other military equipment and refrained from enforcing strict economic sanctions on Russia and many Russian Jewish oligarchs who have second homes in Israel. But with news of Moscow's deepening ties with Tehran, Israel's number one enemy, pressure is growing on Israel to back Ukraine in the grinding war. Israel has long fought a shadowy war with Iran across the Middle East by land, sea, and air. Lieutenant Richard Haidt, a military spokesperson, said the suicide drone attack in Ukraine has raised new concerns in Israel. We're looking at it closely and thinking about how these can be used by Iranians towards Israeli population centers, he said. For years, Russia and Israel have enjoyed good working relations and closely coordinated to avoid run-ins in the skies over Syria, where Russian air power has propped up and battled President Assad. Israel's former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett maintained strict neutrality after the invasion, refraining from condemning Russia's actions and even trying to position himself as a mediator in the conflict. However, now Israeli alarm about the Iranian drones flying over Ukraine has heightened the debate. Iran is seeking to expand its supply of advanced weapons to Russia, the head of Israel's Mossad spy said recently. We warn against Iran's future intentions, which they are trying to keep secret, to deepen and expand the supply of advanced weapons to Russia, to expand the uranium enrichment project, and to intensify their attacks against friendly Muslim countries in the region. Hence, the situation has heightened the level of tension in the Middle East. What's even more bad news for Israel is that Iran is set to receive a number of Russian Sukhoi Su-35 fighter jets by March as part of a military order that includes defense systems, missiles, and helicopters. Most of these weapons will enter the country soon, said Sahara Haidari, who was a member of the Islamic Republic's Parliamentary Commission. The Sukhoi 35 fighter jets will arrive in Iran at the start of next year. He's referring to the Persian calendar starting March 21 this year. The US have also scrambled to stop these drones from being sent to Russia. A range of intelligence, military, and national security officials have described an expanding US program that aims to choke off Iran's ability to manufacture the drones, making it harder for Russians to launch the unmanned kamikaze aircraft, and if all else fails, to provide the Ukrainians with defences necessary to shoot them out of the sky. One of the Iranian companies, named by Britain, France, and Germany as a key manufacturer of one of the two types of drones being brought by the Russians, has appeared for years in the United Nations list of suppliers to Iran's nuclear and missiles programs. The company, which is owned by Iran's military, has expanded its line of drones despite waves of sanctions. It is clear that officials across the Western alliance are correct in that Iran and Russia, both isolated by American-led sanctions, are building a new alliance of convenience.